Patrice back at it again for another power collaboration session. So
Yeah.
today, as you see in the topic, we are going to talk about legal and financial things to consider as you're wrapping up the year and going into the new year. So we're gonna keep it short and sweet. If you guys have questions as we go along, as always, feel free to drop them in the comment section. Um, and put your name behind them if you like, because sometimes your name doesn't show up. So we'll know who we're responding to. And we do these, if it's your first time joining us, I'm Kelly. I'll do an intro. We usually forget and do an
I
outro.
know. We're getting better.
Yeah. So I'm Kelly. I'm a fractional CFO to service-based business owners, and my business, Kommas with Kelly, helps CEO entrepreneurs know how to strategically spend to drive up profits, optimize productivity, and stay in their zone of genius so they can stop burning themselves out. And we do this by taking on your bookkeeping and accounting and giving you financial strategies so you can have a sustainable model to work from. And yeah, and we do this every week with Tracy. You want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Patrice Tisdale, managing attorney at the Tisdale Legal Group on social media. I'm at real law, at real underscore law underscore ESQ on Instagram, and then Tracy here on Facebook. I work with service based entrepreneurs and real estate investors to help them maximize their, or using the law, I should say, leveraging the law to their advantage, so that they can do the things that they want to do. They can take the risks they want to take in their business, like billionaires do, but without spending billions. We have a six-part process that we go through in, negotiating or looking at your business, looking at your goals, and we do so using a flat fee model. I am more interested in having the conversation and the quality of the time that we spend together, and not wanting you or I to worry about the quantity. So I offer my services flat fee so that we can actually achieve the goals that you're looking to do.
Yeah, so that is the beauty of our services is we do streamline it for you so you know what you're going to pay and you don't have to worry about that. So we do offer flat fee services and we're the people you need in the foundation of your business. So reach out to us. We'll talk more about that towards the end when we talk about what we have to offer you today. But let's jump right in. So, the first few things that I'm going to bring up about assessing at year end should be obvious to you as a business owner. The first one is tax planning, right? So, many of you wait until January to start looking at your prior year numbers to gather all the data needed for taxes. And that is a big no no. That's the worst thing you can do for your business because it doesn't give you time to pivot, right? In January, once the year turns over, there are minimal things you can do. Like certain things you can still contribute to certain types of retirement accounts through March and backdate those and things like that. But for the most part, as it pertains to income coming in and expenses on the P&L items, it's not really much of anything you can do when the year's turned over. So this time of years, I would say start in September, definitely by November, end of November. You should have assessed where your numbers are, assessed where your income is. What's your net profit looking like? That's going to determine your tax liability. So you need to make sure it's within what you had planned and projected. And if it's not, then you should talk to your fractional CFO about where to spend. And we're not going to talk about this today, but this is a big point of why you need a fractional CFO and what the difference is and how a fractional CFO can help you versus a tax preparer, right? Because the tax preparer is going to take all of that data and prepare your taxes. Some of them may do tax planning and you can reach out to them throughout the year, usually for an additional fee, but they don't know your day-to-day numbers because they're not in the business day-to-day like your fractional CFO is. And we would alert you to say, hey, this is where your profits are, you're actually at a higher net profit than we projected. So let's invest in, go ahead and retain Tracy this year and mark it on this year's books and pay a new retainer or whatever. Let's say you're getting low and you're like, oh, I was going to pay her up in January. No, let's pay her now to try to spend some of this money. So that's definitely something that you need to be looking at from a tax perspective. And then the budgeting piece, a budgeting perspective, now is the time to start looking at what your numbers look like for this year compared to last year and compared to where you want to be the year in the future. I'm going to have an offer at the end of this to do a brainstorming and budgeting session with me where we do just that, and we assess your prior year numbers, your current year numbers, and come up with goals and milestones for the future and the next year. And we go up to 3 if that's what you want to do and we have the time. But why you want to do this now is because it gives you time to make sure that you have either enrolled or re-enrolled in certain memberships and certain conferences that you usually attend and all of that. Make sure you spent the money that you had allocated in certain areas. But it also gives you enough time before the year ends to assess your spending and see where you are this year compared overall to what you had projected to be. So it kind of goes in line to what I just mentioned in tax planning, which is why I said, let's talk about these together, and tax planning and budgeting go kind of together this time of year. So we'll leave that there.
I think,
Yeah.
sorry, question. As someone, then you're listening, listening to this, or as a business owner, and like you hear like, oh, go ahead and spend this money. You have this extra money, go ahead and spend it. There's some, like the conservative side business owner that may be like, well, why don't I hold this for a rainy day, or like at least let me pad this because in case something goes wrong between now and the end of the year. How do you like address that concern during this planning portion?
Yeah, so there's a couple ways. Depending on how your business is set up, whether you file your taxes on a 1040 Schedule C or you're some type of corporation entity tax filing type, you could either take the money out of the business, whatever the profit is that you want to put aside for the rainy day, and put it into a personal high yield savings or CD or money market account. And that's a good place for it to sit, depending on how much liquid you want it to be, determined on that end. A good place for it to sit in a rainy day fund. The thing about doing it that way is the money that you take out, the profit you take out, would be considered income on taxes to you. So you'd have to consider that depending on how much it is. If it's $20,000, did you really want $20,000 in additional income that could potentially put you in a different tax bracket dispersed to you in that same year? So that's something that you need to talk to your fractional CFO about and your tax planning person to determine if you're good with that. Like, where are you on the tax scale? The other option is keeping it in the business, but moving it to a business CD, which wouldn't impact you depending on your corporation type. That we're talking, if your business is completely separate for tax filing from you personally, it would not impact you profit-wise as the business owner. It would just sit in the business, and it will continue to grow interest in whichever type a CD or money market account in the business's name. Put it over there for a rainy day fund. So those are 2 options that you could consider.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But you think spending may be more, depending on what's going on with the business, spending may be more beneficial, if there's money above your rainy day fund.
Yeah, definitely. I think, yes. And you're absolutely right. It depends on how much it is, how stable your business is. And those are all the things that I talk about with my clients. Like, how stable are your business? What type of personal and business rainy day fund do you currently have? All of those things come into play. But then if we figure out, okay, spending is the best thing to do in this time, we figure out how to spend it reasonably, guys. Don't, we're not talking about just go spend it and buy a business.
You mean I shouldn't go buy that G
Yeah,
Wagon
no,
that I see people talking about at the end of the year because I'm gonna save how much money?
mm-mm, that ain't what I'm saying. When I say spend it, I mean spend it strategically. So it's like you're really reinvesting
Yay,
it
Kelly.
in your business. No, we ain't buying the G Wagon. So you could, like I said, spend it on if you needed to re-up your retainer with your counsel. Maybe this is the time that you go ahead and make that marketing purchase, like you were going to splurge on a marketing coach to help you for next year's kickoff. This could be a good time to spend it
Mm,
on that marketing coach, or a sales coach. Let's say you need a sales coach to get you to acceleration the next year, and you need more
mm-hmm,
sales strategy and coaching behind that. This is the perfect time to consider spending the money on that, on sales coaching. Things like that are reinvesting. Maybe you need a brand refresh, you need some new photos or something like that. Those are all strategic spending opportunities where you're reinvesting the money in the business.
mm-hmm,
Um,
mm-hmm.
awesome. So I want to pivot a little bit and go over to the legal side of things and talk about um, employees and contractors. I know that can get loaded, but I kind of want to
Mm-hmm.
focus on. Let's try to hone it in as much as we can and focus on uh, overall difference between the categorization, because I know it can get kind of tricky. And what should you do
Mm-hmm.
as far as your documents, your employee agreements, your contractor agreements, all of that this time of year?
So this actually kind of falls into what you're talking about with the spending, because if you do have that money or you do need that help in, as you said, you're going to hire these, consultants and coaches, et cetera, or counsel, um, that you're going to typically those roles are independent contractors. An employee is someone that you give set times to say you need to work during this time period. You control how they do the work, where they do the work, supposedly. Um, so if you have a team member that you have control over what the where, what, why, and how they're doing their work versus someone that you're focused on the goal, that team member, no matter even if you have a document saying that, yes, we both agree we're independent contractors and that's it, that's not an independent contractor. That is an employee. And with an employee comes in, the Fair Labor Standards Act, as to how much you're supposed to, how many hours that they can work, what their breaks may look like, um, the overtime. That's the biggest thing. Are you paying them? Are they entitled to overtime? An employee is entitled to overtime. A contractor is not. So if you're doing anything where you're paying your contractor any kind of overtime aspect, cut that out. Like a couple months back, I think it was, I did a post where, I made the statement, you are not the one that gets to decide if your team member, worker is an employee or if they are an independent contractor. Because if there's any complaints to any governmental entity, guess who comes in and does the investigation? And they're the ones that get to say what happens, and they're looking at the context of it. So, all that said, as you get to year end, if you have had individuals coming in and out of your business and helping you, or you say, hey, I need to bring on someone because I have this like last, Q4 push that I'm going to do, you need to um, and look at how you are operating. Do that final review. How are you? Are you focused on the goal that this person is coming in, or are you focused on the goal and the how? If you find yourself trying to figure out, well, are they really spending this amount of hours? How many times do they do it? Da 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 da. You get into that conversation, you're more into the employee realm. So as I told somebody, look at it as two business entities, even if it's an individual, two businesses coming into a contract saying, okay, we want this thing to come out of it. You don't care, you shouldn't. let me, you should not care what the person you're engaging with, how they accomplish whatever it is that you're looking for. Your focus is, are you going to give me the amount, give me that outcome?
Mhm.
So if I'm saying, hey, I'm going to hire Kelly because I do want to invest, I do want to figure out how to strategically spend this money. I don't care if Kelly's the one looking at the books in the background, if she got somebody else doing it, if she's looking at it nine, between 9 and 5, or is she, what's the availability? Is she actually sitting there working on my books for 3 hours per day, and I need to make sure that's happening? No, you don't. You're making sure what's happening is saying, all right, Kelly, what's the strategy? How do I do this? What am I spending? Or why am I spending, it this way? That's the conversation.
Right.
So again, just kind of being extremely mindful of how you are interacting with those that you call as team members. And so look at your operations. As the year is coming to the end, look at how you are operating and making sure that your foundational documents actually reflect the way that you say you're operating. So look at your contractor agreement. Does your contractor agreement say they have to do X, Y, Z, or does it focus on the outcome of it? Um, so, if you're not sure, we can talk about that, but that's the bigger, my bigger push when it comes to it year end, because I get it. People, we jump into things, we say, hey, let's see how this works. Things start working a particular way.
Mhm.
And you may then decide, no, I don't like how this person is doing things, or I'm not sure they're actually, doing it the way that I want them to do it. And so you start getting more into the weeds of how they're doing the work. If you find yourself doing that, think you're now moving into the employee realm.
Right.
So
Yeah, and that can get those lines can get so blurred. So I understand this is why it's important that people have a legal strategist like you on their team, because that is such a confusing place to be, right? Because you may be paying someone a flat fee and you don't require a certain amount of hours.
mhm.
But there could be other areas, like if you're providing the software for them to do it and the instructions behind how to do it, and all of those pieces, it sounds to me like you're saying it could become like, even if you're already paying them a flat fee and you're not tracking hours, are you saying if you're providing them instructions on how to do it or telling them how to do it, that could be an employee versus contractor issue? Or can you not,
So that's what, yeah, to finish the question. Can you not what?
can you not tell them, like, you can tell them what you want the outcome to be, but you can't tell them I need you to follow these steps to get there?
It is industry dependent,
Okay.
right? So like if you have a particular mode and method and saying, okay, here's how, we'd want it done. And you pay the flat fee, you're
Mhm.
saying, hey, this is how much it's going to be. What is the overall
Yeah.
goal of getting there? So if you say, I need you to, you know, process, X amount of clients each week. They come in, we need to
Right.
reconcile their QuickBooks with their
Yeah.
bank account. Um, and you say, well, here's how I do it,
Got
and here's what I find most efficient. And so you can say you do it that way, or I do need you to follow these steps because when I have the conversation with the client, these are the things that we're going to look for. You can do that, to say this is what we're, because that's just one
it.
factor.
Hmm.
Like whether or not if someone is an employee or a contractor, there are multiple
Right.
factors in the test. So that's one of the factors. So you can say, and have your reasoning behind, why you're giving the instruction of the how. Where it's going to become more, problematic is saying, okay, well, I need you from this time to these hours, and that excludes their ability to work for
Right.
others during that time period. If
That
you're
makes
concerned that they're not doing anything, they can't be doing anything for anybody
right.
else during this time period, that's where you get closer to the line of the employee contractor, contractor moving into the employee piece. But one of the biggest things is paying the overtime,
Okay.
right? It is, if you do it, you basically should never, ever, ever pay a contractor
Yeah.
overtime. You can pay bonuses,
Right.
right?
Or yeah.
If yeah, but
Yeah.
you're not doing any overtime.
Okay. No, that makes complete sense. And you guys, you really, really, this is the perfect time to, if you do not have a legal strategist already, as you're wrapping the year, this is one of the things you need to make money to meet with someone like Tracy, to even if it's just for a couple hours and you pay her hourly rate or she comes up with a package, whatever the agreement is. But to do an assessment, if you've never had an attorney in your business, you need that, because I know a lot of the people that follow me have been in their business for at least a few years now and are
Mhm.
over, if not well over, the six-figure mark, and have never really had an attorney dissect the pieces of their business like this. And I
Mhm.
watch it, I see it, and I've even made mistakes, and I've come from that area of working with attorneys, but it's totally different when you have an attorney assigned and the eyeballs in your business and they are a business attorney, right? Because they have the lens and know what areas to pick out that we would never know what areas to pick out in. We just out here thinking that, we're just hiring people to help out and we're helping them by paying them and not realizing we breaking all types of laws. So
Yep.
yeah, and it's important to
Mhm.
know before you get to a place where somebody figures it out themselves and decides they want to sue you for something that you
Mhm.
didn't even know. Well, lack of knowledge is not a basis for
Not a
not
defense.
getting your ass sued. So
And that's it. Like, a lot of people think they've hit the loophole by, like, oh, I'm gonna contract with somebody in India
yeah,
or the Philippines or da da da. Though you are a US based business, and whomever you're doing, this contracting with, they can reach into the US. Like, if for whatever reason they decide, you know what, nah, I need more money, or I'm seeing you do this, they can go to the State Department of Labor, they can go to the Federal Department of Labor, they can file with EEOC. Like, they still have access. It doesn't prevent them from doing so. Now, whether or not they're going to is a whole different story, but it doesn't prevent them from doing so. And if you have one US based person that says, I'm an employee, and you misclassified me, then you open up the door for all these other
yeah,
agencies to start paying attention. Because, trust, the attorney general for a lot of states, they started looking at businesses that are doing this, because misclassification, i.e., wage theft, is a big thing that they're looking at. Tax department, they gonna want their money,
mhm,
because if it's an employee, you should be paying certain taxes. Same for workers' comp. So it has a ripple
yeah.
ripple effect.
Yeah, so guys, it's so many layers to this. We can't cover it in this short live. I mean, there are so many layers to the legal side of things, especially, and layers to that tax planning piece. So send us a
Hmm.
message, drop in our DMs. Tracy, what can they do? How can they reach you to talk more about these tips and things that we've given them to get through year end? And if you have links, you can put them in and I'll put them across the screen too.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I'm from doing it on my phone this time,
Oh,
so it's
you
gonna
want
be
me
a
to
little
type
bit
it?
difficult. But I'll go in and it's Sociotap backslash Tisdale Legal Group. The T L and G are capital .com. But we are doing the assessments, and when we're finished, I can put a link in the chat of the video as well, where you can contact me. We sit down and we do a quick assessment of your business operations and what it is that you're doing, what it is you'd like to do, and make sure that you don't have any barriers to that. And I may very well also like send you back to Kelly as well, because if there are certain barriers, it's look to see if you have the money to spend to to clear that barrier.
Is
So
that right?
we're doing,
Okay.
yes, yep. So we're doing we will do assessments for businesses to see where you operational wise, where you contract wise, and we can go from there. So reach out to me. I think there's when you go to that link, you'll see all my other links, and there is a connect with us, link there. So reach out in all else fails, drop a message in the
Yep.
video, and I will send you a message. And the same for you, Kelly. Like whether they come to you first or come to me first, like what are you, offering at this year and when it comes to their pricing and their spending?
Yeah, so I'm working on a brainstorming and budgeting assessment. That link should go live by the end of this week. You can follow me at bit.ly/KWK links. And when you go there, you'll see all of my links. Also at www.kommaswithkelly.com, which the website should be launching later today or by first thing tomorrow morning. So I'm excited. It's a whole newly rebranded website. It's a very exciting time. So I'm very, very happy to get that out there. But you can go either there or, like Teresa said, comment on these videos, slide in our DMs, and by the end of this week, you will see the brainstorming and budgeting assessment option to sign up, where we'll sit down and we'll go over your numbers, see where you were last year, what you're looking like this year, and plan the budget and assessments for the next year so you can be all good to go in that area. I think that's it. That's it, y'all. If you have any topics you want us to cover, comment with them or send us a DM and we'll be happy to cover what we can. Otherwise, thanks for joining us for another week of Power Collaborations. And we'll see you guys next week. Bye now.